Okay, so continuing to move back on the tractor. Next thing we're doing is change the fuel filter. Now, I've already changed mine once, not intentionally, but what happened to me was a stick, as I was moving some brush around, a stick had come up and broke this little plastic piece off of the whole filter unit, spilled fuel, and killed the engine. I managed to figure out what was going on and didn't lose the entire tank of fuel. I actually didn't lose all that much at all. I just kind of pinched off the other end and then grabbed a jerry can and recovered all the fuel. I ended up changing so this whole plastic piece on the top and the bottom canister and fuel filter all came with it. It actually wasn't all that expensive and a pretty simple fix. So as a consequence of that, I have a whole another can. So basically what I'm going to do is pinch off the supply end, unscrew the can, put the new one on, and call it a day. And basically, if you don't have the can, I would use some vice grips, pinch off this end, and then you got plenty of time to work and change out the entire filter. Okay, so a pair of pliers here. And again, like everything else, drain pan underneath because you are going to spill a little bit of fuel. Move the little protective metal spring back. Get another hand in there. Move the protective spring back. You do have to be careful. You don't want to pinch off somewhere too close to the filter and break the plastic filter housing. Okay, so pinch off the fuel line. Again, you are going to spill a little bit of fuel. Make sure your pan is underneath. Unscrew the old filter. Make sure you don't cross thread the new one. And again, like everything else, hand tight is more than sufficient. Remember, these are only plastic parts. And when you let go, it will self-prime and fill up with fuel. Just take a cloth. Give it one more little turn, tighten it up, and there we go. And then take a quick look. Look at all your rubber fuel lines. See any cracks? You'll obviously want to replace those. All right, let's take a look at this old fuel filter. Now, I don't use any special diesel, just whatever comes out of the pump. If we look at this old filter after 400 hours, ooh, it's tough to get out of there. Quite a bit of dirt up at the top, and a surprising amount of dirt at the bottom of the cup. So it is definitely important to change these filters out. New one in place, full of fuel, and ready to go. One more thing done. On to the next one. Okay, cup of coffee number 3, hopefully the last. So now we're gonna do the main hydraulic system. So we're gonna change the HST filter, the hydraulic oil filter, dump the hydraulic fluid, and refill it. It's about, I think, 4.5 gallons of fluid. Basically, Kubota gave me or sold me a big pail of hydraulic fluid because that's what it's going to take. So you have to be careful because I have a relatively small drain pan, so I have to make sure we don't overflow the pan or that would be a huge mess. I've changed the HST filter before. That's done after the first 50 hours of use, and with the backhoe frame on, it's a real pain to get in there and change them out. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to access. But other than that, this is still the original hydraulic oil filter and the hydraulic fluid. So we'll see how everything looks after 400 hours of use. So last thing, let's get started. Okay, so back under, facing the rear of the tractor, there's your mid PTO. That looks like a drain. So I'm gonna start by opening this up, draining off whatever fluid is in there. Now we're gonna, again, be very careful because I don't wanna overflow my pan. And again, just like all the other bolts, oh no, this one's bigger. Hang on, gotta get a bigger socket. So the oil in the front axle were 14 mil. This one is a 17 mil. Ooh, it's on there. There she goes. Now stopping this is going to be a real mess if it comes to that, but we'll gotta do what we gotta do. Also, the hydraulic system is vented, so this will probably come rushing out pretty quick. And there it is. And after 400 hours of pretty heavy use, as you can see, it doesn't actually look all that bad. Now my pan is getting a little on the full side, so I'm going to put that back in. That's pretty, not too bad actually. And drain the pan, and I'll be right back. Okay, pan's empty. We will undo. Oh. There we go, starting to slow down a little bit. Don't forget to change your washer in there. Again, it looks like, this one looks like one of the special ones with the rubber on the inside. And while that's draining, here is the hydraulic oil filter. So we'll take that off. We can take that off right now. Move this over a little bit. And again, your backhoe frame is right here, so it's not in a great spot, but you do have enough room to get a a filter wrench around it and hopefully take it off. Now the first time I changed the HST filter, the factory installed HST filter, it was on there extremely tight. So we'll see. Oh, not too bad. There we go. Actually, that wasn't too bad at all. I'll do this. And again, you're going to get some hydraulic fluid. And just make sure everything hits the pan. So that's the original. And you can see rubber O-ring came off with the filter. And so while we're down here on this side, there's the filter. Take the plastic off. Put a bit of grease on the O-ring. There's where it screws onto. So I'm just going to clean up the surface a little bit so we get a good seal. Put a little bit of hydraulic fluid in the filter, not too much. You just end up spilling it. Ends up spilling out. And put the new filter on. Again, normally hand tight is good, but because it's in such an awkward spot, I'm going to get the wrench on it a little bit. And tighten it up just a bit. That's good. Okay, that one done. New O-ring on. Tighten that up a little. Not too much. That's good. Now we'll move to the other side and get the HST filter off. And now this one is particularly difficult because it's closer to the backhoe housing, and you have this arm which is in the way. This is the mid-mount mower linkage. So this links the mid-mount mower deck to the 3-point hitch in the back, and that's what lifts up your mower deck. At the same time, last time I put this on, I didn't put it on very tightly, but even still, I'm gonna have to grab a strap wrench to get this one off. Again, I didn't put this one on very tightly the first time I changed it. It was an absolute nightmare to take it off. Again, the rubber gaskets on these make a very good seal, so it's not necessary to put them on extremely tightly. The other problem with this one is you want to make sure you don't drop it in your oil pan or in your tray. It's very easy to do so. Clean up around that mating surface. New filter. Is kind of tricky to get it in there, but if you stick towards the back of the machine, it'll slide in. There we go. This one I can get a better grip on it, so I'm not actually going to put the strap wrench on it. Just hand tight, and that's it. Okay, I'm gonna spray them down with a bit of parts cleaner. Spray the drain plug, clean it off, and then we have 2 other drain plugs to find, and then we'll refill the fluid. Okay, so the other 2 drain plugs are a little bit farther back. Let's see if we can. So it's that plug right in the center there. It's a 12 mil. It's a little bit trickier to get at. But we'll see what we can do. Get our pan in position. Okay, so we loosen that bolt. Let's drain this side. And again, there'll be an identical bolt on the other side. Okay, pulled all 3 drain plugs. Every drain plug that we've pulled today has had a washer on it, so don't forget, replace it if you can. If you can't, at least put the old one back on. The left and right drain plugs are a little difficult to get at. They're kind of centered where the wheel is, but you can still reach it without jacking up the tractor. Again, it's just a little bit difficult. The plug on the right-hand side, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, the plug on the right-hand side, you need to use a short socket. The longer sockets that I was using, there's a hydraulic line for the backhoe, which will not allow you to use the longer sockets. So short one on that side, the long one on the other side. Other than that, pretty straightforward. It is a lot of fluid. I think it's about 4.5 gallons of fluid that came out. Didn't look too bad. Again, this tractor I've had for quite a number of years. Only recently has hit 400 hours, but the vast majority of that is loader work and backhoe work. So kind of surprised that the fluid still looked relatively clear. Anyway, let's get this filled up and move on to the next task. Okay, so there's the fill port there. The vent right beside it. Unfortunately, it's not in the best spot. And I have a large pail of fluid. So let's see if the best way to do this is going to be. Okay, so there it is, about 3/4 of the way up the stick. We'll stop there for now. That barrel is very difficult to deal with, so if you can, I do recommend getting the, the smaller bottles. So we'll put the cap on, take it for a little spin, and check the levels again, top it up if necessary. Okay, final check on the hydraulic fluid. It's right around the bottom. So, add a little bit more. And we're back to 3/4. All right, guys, that's a good time to end this this video. Again, 400-hour service, 3 cups of coffee, and we got her done. It took a while, I'm not gonna lie. It was a bit messy, but you can do it without jacking up the tractor. You can leave everything on the ground. You don't have to use the backhoe or the bucket to lift the tractor off the ground. Some of the bolts are a little hard to get at, but it is definitely manageable. The worst part about the whole thing was lifting the barrel of hydraulic fluid to fill that port in the back. It's not in the best spot, and I don't necessarily have the largest funnel possible, but a little bit of oil on the ground isn't the end of the world. I do notice that the hydrostatic whine is definitely a lot quieter. I think Kubota, since the time I purchased this machine, Kubota has reformulated their hydraulic fluid. So yeah, there is a definite decrease in the hydrostatic whine when I took it out for a little spin here. Again, always remember, you gotta check everything and top it up, because with these systems, there are probably a lot of pockets of air that will eventually work themselves out as you're driving over bumps and using the hydraulic systems. Now, I am going to do a second video, a whole bunch of little things that I do, not necessarily on a 400-hour service, but a little bit more regular maintenance. Just little things, greasing the machine, checking the wheel lugs, looking over the engine to make sure there's no cracks in all the hoses, but we'll save that for a part 2. If you notice something that I did wrong, leave a comment below. I'm not in any way a professional in this. I'm just a weekend warrior, as it were, but have used this tractor to do a lot of work on our 3.5 acre property. So maybe I'll do a 400-hour review of my Kubota B2320 in another video. Anyway, that's it for now. Hopefully you guys found it helpful and avoid some of the more annoying aspects of doing this service. But it's pretty straightforward. Follow the manual and you can get it done. All right, see you later.